I have a question. Why is everybody talking about Bitcoin crashing, about Michael Saylor selling his Bitcoin causing this entire cascade, while what's actually going down is Solana? Is this potentially an opportunity? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. What we see over here, that's Solana's market cap relative to Bitcoin's market cap. Now have a look at those horizontal lines. That's roughly when Solana topped and then bottomed and then topped again relative to Bitcoin. Compare this with the actual Bitcoin price. Bitcoin exactly topped and bottomed and topped at those lines. Now what does that mean? It means that practically Solana is just a levered bet on Bitcoin. When Bitcoin goes up, Solana goes up more. When Bitcoin goes down, Solana goes down more. So really, Solana, taking all of those other factors aside, is just a levered bet. It's just more exposure to crypto. With the difference that the Solana relative to Bitcoin ratio tends to be trading in a range. We top out at very similar levels and we also tended to bottom out at similar levels. So in other words, even though Bitcoin can double from one top to the next, Solana doesn't necessarily has to outperform across the cycles. Now this chart is scary because currently we are coming down and it implies if the bear market continues, that not just the Solana price could go down by 64%, but it could go down more than Bitcoin by 64%. Now that's the data that most people look at, but sometimes it makes sense to bet against the masses, right? Most money is made when we are contrarian, when the masses are wrong and we are right. So let's see if there is an opportunity here. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago. In this video, I want to share how I outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin over the last 5 years by on average 2% per month. The data is linked down below. This is the website of the Bitcoin strategy channel. My track record is down below. So what we see over here in this chart, that's my portfolio measured in BTC. It has been updated a month ago. We're actually now at an all-time high because we are making money with this crash. I'm not outperforming every single month, but what matters is the long term. And that's roughly 2% per month. If we update this, maybe 2.2, 2.3% per month even. Feel free to check out the website down below. Feel free to also check out the details regarding copy trading. More on that in a second. Now what we've got over here, that's the Solana dominance. How much of all of crypto is currently in Solana if you just compare market caps? Very long term, over the cycles, Solana does tend to outperform, as in we do have slightly higher highs from one cycle to the next. So this year is growth of an additional 30% over the course of 3 years. But unfortunately, this chart as well implies that we are rather going south from here. We started a slightly bearish trend in the last 2 years. By the way, those are lines that I haven't just drawn for this video. There have been several Solana videos on this channel. Feel free to check out the titles. Feel free to check out the charts. If it's your first time here, then of course, feel free to subscribe over here. We are currently breaking the support. And really, there is a lot of air to reach valuations where things become historically cheap again. An underperformance of 57% roughly. And that's now versus the rest of the entire crypto market, not just versus Bitcoin. Now the question is, can potentially the usage of the Solana blockchain turn this around? If enough people use Solana and use its tokens, then maybe this will translate into demand that can potentially turn things around. Now, measured in US dollars, the total value locked, or the TVL on the Solana chain, does not look pretty either. At the peak of DeFi summer, we were close to 10 billion. That then subsequently fell all the way down to 200 million. That's a drop of 98%. But then miraculously, with the invention of Pump.fun and Memecoin trading, Solana's total value locked went all the way up to 13 billion. So again, a 30% increase from top to top. Now we tend to trend downward again. But have a look at the following. If we measure the TVL not in US dollars, but in Solana tokens, this actually looks somewhat healthy still. So really really, what's mainly driving the decrease in the TVL on the Solana chain is just the prices themselves going down. It's not necessarily less usage of the platform. The value measured in native tokens tends to still trend upwards. Now, there's actually a cleaner way to measure Solana's dominance, and that's by excluding the stable coins. This is the Solana market cap divided by total ES. ES stands for excluding the stable coins. Again, Solana tends to trend upward, but we did have a resolution of a quite interesting decision maker just recently. This is a chart that I published to the premium members of this channel. A falling wedge that's expected to break to the downside, and it seems like that's exactly what's currently happening. Lower highs over time with subsequently the support breaking. Now, the signals are somewhat contradictory because the stablecoin market cap on the chain is not yet shrinking. People keep their stablecoins on the Solana chain. They're not withdrawing from Solana forever. That's what we would expect when people move their money, say, from the Solana chain back into their bank account or maybe into another blockchain. But the stablecoin market cap stays elevated at around 15 billion on Solana. The trading activity, though, it's not growing since the beginning of 2025. This spiked massively again because of Pump.fun, but then too many people lost money on Memecoin trading. And so the capital concentrated towards the few winners, the few insiders, and everybody else was left holding the bag. And so trading activity continues to shrink. Still today, the vast majority of trading on the Solana chain is just meme coins. Have a look at dexscreener.com. Fartcoin is a meme coin. AI Rig Complex as well. So it's the Cards token, Trolls, Pippin, Popcat, the Useless token, Wine, Giga. You get the point. It's all just speculative trading from one market maker to the next insider to the next retail investor that's going to lose money. Now check this out. The trading volume on the Solana chain in the last 24 hours was 4.7 billion. Of that, 2.9 billion, so 2/3 of the entire trading volume was just pump swap. This looks a bit suspicious, right? Are there still 3 billion worth of trading volume on the spot market on Solana? Or what's actually going on here? The pump ecosystem has a buyback program. And what we see over here in yellow, that's the purchases of pump over time measured in Solana. What we see in green, that's how much of the daily revenue gets used for the buybacks. It used to be 100%, that got reduced to only 50%. How many pump tokens had been bought over all of that time? The answer is 139 billion, which equates to almost 400 million worth in US dollars. So based on that data, we should be expecting that the pump token is pumping, right? That it's going up long term. It's getting bought that much. There's all of this activity on chain as well. 2/3 of all of trading on the Solana chain happens through Pump.swap. So is the pump token doing better than Solana? The way I'm posing this question might already imply the answer. Here is the chart. This is the pump token relative to the Solana price. And it only trades in a range. It does not long-term outperform. The dotted line, that's the long-term equilibrium. Again, we tend to bottom out at similar levels. We tend to top out at similar levels. Currently, we could say that pump is just valued fairly versus Solana. But where does then all of this money go to? If the pump token gets bought that aggressively, I think this is likely over-the-counter deals, because in the future there will be pump unlocks, and we don't know how many of those unlocks already got sold to outsiders for a discount. And then those outsiders might have opened short positions, say on the perpetual futures market, and that then through arbitrage bots bleeds over to the spot market as well. So it's actually very dangerous to take those unlock charts as the absolute truth. We don't really know when the supply actually gets sold. We don't really know if the unlocks will be the very first wave of tokens that then get unlocked and sold, or if there is pre-selling. The pre-selling is usually not made public. Now, this is not a video about Pump.fun, but this is a video about Solana. Check out the number of active addresses on the Solana chain. Surprise, surprise, that peaked at the beginning of 2025 as well. How many of those addresses are organic addresses, and how much of this was inflated through just pumping various tokens with bot farms? I can't give you that answer. All I can tell you that even the manipulation is now slowing down and the number of active addresses on Solana is declining. Here are the weekly Solana transaction fees that peaked at 200 million and it's now closer to 2 million, so a reduction of 99%. Here is the number of Solana decentralized exchange traders, and I want you to pay attention to the ratio of the red area versus the blue area. So the red area shows the new traders, potentially organic traders, humans. The blue area shows the recurring traders. Now very often arbitrage bots, for example, are those recurring traders. It's not always organic trading activity. And an ecosystem that's mainly traders that shuffle their money around and not new traders that bring in new capital, it has a hard time pushing up prices. And this here is probably the most scary chart of them all. This is the number of validators on the Solana chain. Why is this scary? It's because everybody that's a validator was a long-term believer, right? It takes quite a bit of effort to set up a node. Once you lose your hope for Solana, you might just exit the ecosystem entirely. And unfortunately, this is already going down since March of 2023, so for the last 3 years. The truth is the following: Solana is a risk on play. When Bitcoin has already come out of a bear market, when it's already doubled or tripled in price from the low of a bear market, then people are looking for the next risk on play. Then they're looking for more risk. And that's when Solana tends to shine. Currently, the market is very far from that situation, right? We are still in a bear market. Prices are still coming down. The reason why Solana was able to reach new highs with the last bull run was because of leverage and because of Memecoin trading. Have a look at the open interest. So the amount of bets that are currently made on the Solana price. So that's perpetual futures. That's the short-term levered interest in the Solana price. It's a measure of how much risk on capital, short-term risk on capital, is currently in the asset. And that grew extremely from the top in 2021 to the top last year. It went from 2 billion all the way to 16 billion, an 8x in short-term levered bets. But compare that with the Solana price. It just held up from one bull market top to the next. In other words, this second bull market top was mainly driven by short-term open interest, speculative capital. And so seeing the Solana price now collapsing again is no surprise at all. I think that Solana is standing on even weaker foundations now than it used to. There's much more potential to fall down when there's so much inherent leverage in the asset. So where does this leave us? Again, this is the stablecoin adjusted Solana dominance, and we have broken down, and Bitcoin tends to trend down with it. No surprise. I think for Solana to realistically appreciate again, we need to see, as the very first precondition, a bottoming of the Bitcoin bear market. At least Bitcoin has to stop falling. When will it stop falling? I think we have to fall at least below the average cost basis of the market. That's historically what always happened. And I show this chart in almost every video on this channel because I think it's so important. This is the Bitcoin realized price. With every single bear market in the past, we fell below that realized price. So the average Bitcoin holder had to be in unrealized losses. The current price has to be below the average holder price. This is happening time and time again. A bear market does not turn around unless Bitcoin is cheap enough for the contrarian long-term investor to buy as well. Currently, Bitcoin is not yet cheap enough. It has only fallen by 50% from the all-time high, and the realized price is at $53,000. And even once we are at that level, it doesn't mean that we instantly turn around. For example, we fell below that in June of 2022, but the bear market bottom still took another half year to get established. And we fell roughly 20% below the average cost basis. The average Bitcoin holder was 20% in unrealized losses. Right now, with the current realized price at 53K, that implies a bear market bottom price of $42,867. And don't forget the 20 cents, because every analysis like this is always on point. That's of course not meant seriously. No model is perfect, but some models are at least useful to give us some kind of guidance. And I do believe that enough people look at data like this and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If enough people think that Bitcoin at a particular price level is cheap enough, then there will be first buyers and the sellers will be a bit more cautious to still sell after a 70 or 80% drop. But again, we have to be cheap enough first for that to turn around. And so I'm just sharing the data as I see it, even though this might not always be popular when we are at the height of the bull market. And then you're saying maybe it makes sense to take some profit. profit, people get very aggressive in the comments, especially when we are very bullish. When we are in a bear market, it's not necessarily as hostile. Still, YouTube tends to reward the channels that are always bullish because that's what most people want to hear, right? They just want to get their bias confirmed and then they give a like. If people own an asset, let's say Solana in this case, and then they watch a video like this and that video says that maybe Solana has even more room to fall, they're not necessarily going to like it, but it's the important message. It's the message that long-term matters. You might have noticed that I've even changed my avatar on this channel to me wearing a bear costume. And so it's probably not surprising to you that the strategies that we are following, they're currently making money. They're making money since we launched them actually. I'm not going to talk about the Bitcoin trend follower or the Ethereum trend follower right now. I want to show this one here, the Solana trend follower. That's actually relatively new. It started in March of this year. And here is the performance chart. Again, it's public directly in the link down below. It's updated every day. The Solana price is the line in gray. Our trend follower is the line in orange. All we do here is trade Solana. The target is to outperform buying and holding Solana. And we've done this. We haven't lost anything with this current crash. Solana itself, since March, went down by 32%. So measured in Solana, we've got alpha of almost 50%. Right? You now hold 1.5 SOL instead of just 1 SOL being in this trend follower. And the same kind of return can be seen for the other trend followers. Annualized, by the way, for Solana, we are now at almost 600%. That's definitely going down. But have a look at this. This is the Ethereum trend follower. Here is that performance chart. ETH lost half of its value since we launched that at the beginning of the year. We are up 41%. Measured in ETH, that's up almost 200%. So you have now almost 3x more Ethereum being in this compared to just buying and holding ETH. And here is the Bitcoin trend follower. That's also slightly in profit while Bitcoin lost. So that's doubling the Bitcoin stack that started in October of last year. Now, how is this all possible? All of those trading strategies use backtests. All of them use simulations of buying and selling to determine trading rules that historically work very well for Bitcoin and for Ethereum and for Solana. Of course, those rules are different for those different assets. We have different buying and selling signals for them. But it's actually quite extensive. So we try to get the market timing right. We try to figure out how consistent is the outperformance. What's the perfect leverage to take, which by the way, isn't that high. For Solana, the optimal leverage on the long side is 1.75x. For short, it's 1.5x. But it's the trading rules that make the long-term gains. This is the portfolio value of that trading strategy for the Solana vault measured in US dollars. A very constant, nice outperformance. Every single year, this strategy made money, which cannot be said for buying and holding Solana itself. And so based on that, based on all of those backtests, I'm not going to repeat them in this video, otherwise the video gets too long. The annual return is 383% instead of 113%. If we look at the ratio of those returns, our expected alpha, our target performance is 176% per annum. And currently we are already outperforming. But again, the vault hasn't been running for that long just yet, but we are already up 50% versus buying and holding Solana annualized. Again, it's a huge number, much higher than our backtest. But yeah, all of those results, they are not just random. It's not just luck. It's data that comes directly from the backtesting platform of this channel. By the way, you get access to that backtesting platform in premium as well, right? You can optimize indicators, you can optimize leverage, you can look at seasonality, at regression analyses, etc. There are explainer videos for every single one of those backtests as well, if you want to build your own strategy and check out how it actually works. So yeah, I understand how times might be tough. Most people are losing money in this market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to exit. Crypto is still a very inefficient market. There's still a lot of money in it if we just position ourselves in the right way. And there is a case to be made to just step aside now. If you have lost money in the last few weeks, just don't trade at all and instead just invest in your education. Just learn more about the market, build your market edge. The people that have most knowledge, they tend to be the ones that long-term outperform. It's currently $125 per month. It also gives you access to the copy trading vault for the Solana trend follower. There's also a 7-day money back guarantee in case you don't like premium. Just message me within the first week and I'll refund you, no questions asked. There are plenty of tutorial videos, and I publish my view on the market twice a week as well. And there's also a community and dedicated support if you get stuck with anything. So yeah, Solana has already fallen quite a bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if it falls further. It's simply not the asset that tends to hold stable during times like this. If you got some value out of this video, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube or potentially in Premium as well. Links over here. Thanks for watching. Cheers.